Mr. Parnas gave what can only be described as an explosive interview to my colleague Rachel Maddow, and it's been just wild to watch reaction from the president and Trump world.
Mr. President, what is your response to Lev Parnas, who says that your efforts in Ukraine were all about 2020? You just wanted Joe Biden out. What's your response?
Well, I don't know him. I don't know Parnas, other than I guess I had pictures taken, which I do with thousands of people, including people today that I didn't meet, but just met him. I don't know him at all. Don't know what he's about. Don't know where he comes from. Know nothing about him.
Now, it is funny he should mention photos because, yes, there are photos. Like this one, tweeted by Lev's lawyer earlier this week, and this one with the whole gang, and all of these. There are a lot of photos. There is even this video. This is a video that Lev's lawyer posted this clip on Twitter last night. Lev with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. In fact, this is a recurring theme. No one will admit they know Lev Parnas, and that Lev Parnas seems to have a photo with everybody. Here he is with the president's son, Eric, and with the president's daughter, Ivanka, and son-in-law, Jared, and Vice President Mike Pence, and counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway. Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Sure, why not? Former Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Here he is with her dad. For some reason, Mike Huckabee. Everybody knew Lev, or at the very least, everybody took a picture with Lev. And according to what he told Rachel this week, everything Lev did was done at the direction of the president, and everyone knew about it.
President Trump knew exactly what was going on. He was aware of all my movements. I wouldn't do anything without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president. I'm going to use a famous quote by Mr. Sutherland. Everybody was in the loop.
Everybody was in the loop. That is the theme of all the evidence that has accrued over the past 4 weeks. But here's the thing. It is more than that, right? The operation, the scheme for which the president has been impeached, for which he now faces trial, where we learned from his perfect phone call that he tried to extort the Ukrainian government into interfering in an American election, into targeting a U.S. citizen, into manufacturing dirt on his political opponent in exchange for aid that he had no legal right to hold up. That scheme was not some little backdoor thing with some weird guys you never heard of named Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman running around Ukraine freelancing. This was an obsession of the president. It was an obsession of his personal and unpaid lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. And it reverberated throughout the United States government, from cabinet officials to associates of the president to frontline lawyers to senior aides to career civil servants who were blowing the whistle on it, saying, hello, this is absolutely nuts. Are we doing this? This scheme the president was running to extort Ukraine, it was known by many people, many of whom were complicit and many of whom thought it was crazy and illegal. But everyone knew the thing was happening. It was an open secret.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.